I have been able to gather some of the reactions and some of what people have said. I want to just focus on just two main points. Recently, Mumbai, Pune Nashik 200 kilometers semi-high speed line has been approved by Railway Board on broad gauge. Now that line will carry your high speed trains, it will carry normal trains, and it will also carry freight trains. Not heavy freight, but other than heavy freight, fertilizer, cement, and all these things, it will be carrying all those things. So now when you have got this much of traffic, the utilization of the line capacity can be expected to be quite high. Now, if you make this line in Kerala on a standard gauge, you will basically be running trains only for about 3 hours in the morning and 3 hours in the evening. That is the time when people do their most of the commuter traveling, intercity traveling. People go and come back in the evening. This traffic study report also says that average trip length is only 200 kilometers. Very few people are going to travel by this train, say from Trivandrum to Kozhikode or Trivandrum to Kasaragod or far off places, or even to Kannur. Average trip length is only 200 kilometers. Now, we cannot live in a cocoon. Let us see what is happening the world over. All over the world, you cannot tell me a single line for 200 kilometers per hour, which is only for passenger trains, commuter trains. There is no such line. For that kind of thing, you need a bullet train line so that people can travel even 400, 500 kilometers and come back in the evening. This is why bullet trains are popular between very big cities. Now, nobody has really, the thing that we should be thinking most about is, you have the population of these 11 cities where this line will be having stations, which is only 40 lakhs. In case of Mumbai, Ahmedabad, it is 7 times more. Now, how can you expect more traffic for Silver Line than for the bullet train line? Double that traffic? So this traffic projection is totally unrealistic. It's this simple comparison, this simple logic cannot be denied. You can't have 1/7 of the population and still expect that with short trip length of 200, you will get double the traffic of the bullet train line. So the practice world over is, if we work according to that, make this line on broad gauge, then you will carry high-speed trains. This line will carry Jan Shatabdi, Rajdhani, Sampark Kranti, all long-distance trains will come on this line. And this line will also carry freight trains. With these 3 streams of traffic, you can expect utilization of capacity, because people's money amounting to 120 crores per kilometer is going to be spent on this project. So there should be utilization of that capacity. Unless you have the line on broad gauge and you have all 3 streams of traffic on the line, you will never get utilization of the line capacity. Now, what are the benefits? If you make it on broad gauge, then your trains can go to Mangalore, to Panaji in the north. They can go to Mysore, Bangalore, Coimbatore, etc. on the eastern side, and to Tirunelveli, Kanyakumari and onwards. So your trains can cover a much larger area. And please bear in mind that the cost of trains is not high. It is the cost of the railway line which is high. And it is the practice all over the world. You go to France, you go to Germany, you go to England, you go to China. All these trains, they run on normal track also. A 200-kilometer line will be extended. These trains will be extended to all the nearby places. So you have a much bigger hinterland to capture traffic. So we are talking about utilization of the capacity. You are going to create a capacity for 4 lakh passengers per day. If you run only passenger trains, where will you get 4 lakh people to travel on this line by paying rupees 2.75, which is almost equal to the fare of AC first? How many people do you think will travel? It is a totally unrealistic traffic projection. Now, number 2 point, people have said ki somebody says that high speed is not feasible. No, this is not really so. High speed trains are running on broad gauge on many countries: Russia, Spain, Uzbekistan, and Finland, and many Eastern European countries. The whole of Eastern Europe has got broad gauge. Western Europe has got standard gauge. So all these countries are running 200, 250 kilometer speed trains on broad gauge. And Railway Board has also approved Pune-Nasik. We have got, already we have got trains, locomotives and coaches, which were purchased 20 years ago for 200 km per hour. We already have locomotives and coaches. We have to just upgrade them little bit. They have been designed for 200. We have to upgrade them, put a little bit of input, and they will run at 200 km per hour on these lines. So you do not have to go for import of costly standard gauge. Why should you import standard gauge trains from abroad when you can have them? You already have them in India. In your country, you already have them. This technology for 200 kilometer coaches and locomotives is already there in this country. By the time your line will take at least 6 to 7 hours to complete, 6 to 7 years. In that time, you can modify and upgrade your locomotives and coaches for 200 km per hour. So you don't have to go for any imports, spend money on all these things. Now, other point people say is that jobs are created. Of course, jobs will be even more jobs will be created if you make this line on broad gauge, because your locomotives, your coaches, they will also be manufactured in our own workshops in railway production units or elsewhere. Now, for the construction of the railway line, you don't have to import rails. Like for Mumbai, Ahmedabad, even rails are being imported from Japan. You don't have to do all that. You have everything available within the country to make this line, both the construction of the railway line and the trains as well. So to have a standalone line on standard gauge exclusively to run intercity train in which people will be traveling only short distance of 200 and 300 kilometers, just focus on this point. It does not make any sense at all. This line will be a white elephant. There should be no doubt in anybody's mind. Now people are talking about some French company working on this project. If this kind of work had been done in France or Britain or Japan or anywhere, that you submit your feasibility report without any ground studies, you will be kicked out. Action will be taken against you for doing such a thing. I mean, it is just like saying that you take a decision and then you go to the ground to collect data to support that decision. That scientific objectivity is not there. This is just not done. I mean, you decided on standard gauge, you decided on an alignment without any investigation, you made it public, you announced it to the public also that you are going to make a standard gauge line and this line will pass through these places. It will have 11 stations. Now what will happen? The engineers and consultants, they will go to the field and they will somehow try to prove, yes sir, this is right. So this is not the way. This thing should not be encouraged. This unscientific and improper way of working should not be encouraged in this country. That you submit a proposal without doing sufficient studies. Even the Indian Railway Code clearly stipulates that no proposal will be submitted to Railway Board without ground studies. It is stipulated, it is written in the codes then how these codes are being violated in broad daylight? This is the question which should worry everybody. Are we going to throw our rules and our regulations to the winds, and are these projects going to be decided on somebody's whims? Because somebody says that we should have an elevated standalone corridor, everybody goes to make an elevated corridor on a standard gauge standalone. Then they realize that that elevated is not possible. They come to the ground that yes, 75% will be on the ground, but then they try to prove everything. They try to come up with a traffic projection which is absolutely astronomical, absolutely unrealistic. This kind of thing, I think, should not be accepted, and we will be going against the world practice that these lines, 200 km/h line, have never proved anywhere in the world viable for only carrying passenger traffic. Short distance passenger traffic, they have not proved viable anywhere in the world. You give me one example from anywhere in the world where you have a standalone line which is only for carrying intercity and daytime traffic. No, it is not there. You go to China. China's busiest railway line is Mumbai to Shanghai railway line. That is the busiest line in the world, in China and also in the world. It is not a bullet train line. It is a 200 km/h line which carries passenger trains at 200 km/h, which carries freight trains at.
Sir,
Sir, you are muted, please. Can you check that?
Sorry. So just look at this line in China, or you look at many other examples are there all over the world where they are achieving excellent throughput, very high capacity utilization by running all sorts of train. Now, if you make this line on broad gauge, when you transfer Jan Shatabdi, Rajdhani, Sampark Kranti, and all these long distance trains, their traveling time will reduce from 9 to 12 hours. I'm giving you example from Thiruvananthapuram to Kasaragod. The Rajdhani Express takes about 9 hours today. In the very beginning, I told you that average speed of trains in Kerala is very low because existing lines are having too many curves and they have not been really upgraded as they should have been. So, but if you make it on broad gauge, those trains will also come on it and they will run at 140 to 160 kmph, because this line can very easily carry trains without any same rakes, same locomotives. They will run at 140 to 160 km. A journey which takes 9 hours today by Rajdhani will be completed in just about 5 to 6 hours. So all the existing your existing line also benefit. Existing trains also benefit by coming on this line. I mean, this is a massive advantage. You not only run your fast high-speed train, you also run your conventional trains. Rajdhani, Shatabdi, Sampark, they all come. Now what will happen is you will have then lot of spare capacity on the existing line. You can run a lot of trains to take care of the local travel, people who travel for 100 kilometers short distance, because as this survey also says, about more than 50% of the travel is for less than 100 kilometers. So with your existing line, when this capacity is released, you can run lot of trains for short distance travel for low cost travel. Because not very few people, it will be, this line, if you make it exclusively for passenger train, it will be no doubt an elitist line. How many people will pay 2.75 rupees per kilometer, almost equal to AC first, to travel by this train? But if you run 100 to 120 kilometers, you can run 10 Jan Shatabdis on this line. People will be traveling at less than half the fare.
Mr. Arap, can you please shorten your talk? We have to go back. We have family. It's
okay,
just 9 o'clock.
Sure, just I'll conclude. Just 2 minutes. So, yeah. So, what was I saying?
Okay, you are just concluding. Okay.
Yeah, I was concluding. So, yes, I was telling you that by bringing your, I mean, you will not only be running your high-speed trains at 200 kilometer per hour, you can be running a number of other slower trains like Jan Shatabdi, where people can complete, I mean, the high-speed train will take, say, 4 hours, okay, from Trivandrum to Kasaragod. Then the Jan Shatabdi trains, the slower trains will take maybe 6 hours, but the fare will be less than half. So this line will not only be only for the rich, but it will also be for the common man if you make it on broad gauge. If you make it on standard gauge, this will be only for the rich and wealthy people who can pay such high fares to travel by these trains. And of course, capacity utilization will be less. So I will conclude with this. I think I have conveyed the main points. Thank you.